YouTube is a disappointment, especially in regards to their moderation of content. If you're familiar with my channel, you know that I want YouTube to be the best it could be. And to that end, I've done research on problems I find to see if moderators are properly dealing with them. The answer being no the majority of the time. But one thing I've failed to do so far is to take a closer look at the reporting system itself. Try to understand how it's put together, you know? I regret not doing it sooner because as my review went on, I've come to a concerning conclusion. YouTube doesn't want people to report content. This isn't a claim I can outright prove is true, but the evidence is right in front of us. For some reason, this website seems to have been intentionally designed to make reporting content as unnecessarily inconvenient as possible. On top of that, I found that trying to use certain report types can potentially put users in danger, which shows how little care they have for the system. But seeing is believing, so allow me to show you what I've found. Note that I will mostly be discussing the desktop version of YouTube, though some of my points cross over to other devices. Start by imagining you're a new user watching videos for the first time, when all of a sudden you find an awful scam video. Without clicking anything, where is the report button? An experienced user would know it's behind these three dots, but that brings up the question, why is it hidden at all? This is an important feature, you'd probably want this out in the open. In theory, it's a means for saving space, and that makes sense for the main page due to the many options. But for the majority of the site, it's either hidden with only one other option, or it is completely by itself. On comments, on playlists, or searching for videos, on community posts, and on store pages. The consistent usage of this design suggests that it's intentional, which is frustrating since all it does is make things less convenient for people, thus discouraging them from using the reporting functions. Plus, on About pages, they literally have the flag icon, so they could use it if they wanted to. To make things worse, if you are not signed in, all the report options except for videos, playlists, and store pages are completely hidden. This makes zero sense since there is already a pop-up for the existing options telling you an account is needed to report stuff. Doing this just made more work for the programmers just to discourage usage further, since you can't use what doesn't exist. Advertisements have a similar set of problems. If you're watching a video and get an ad that breaks policies, you have to click this tiny icon here that could be easily missed, select Report this ad, which will then take you to a page where except for one option, just directs you to another page. Oh, and if you select the wrong thing by accident, there's no way to go back without reopening the page entirely. Refreshing will not work. So in summary, it's less visible, less straightforward, and if the ad closes before you can click, you cannot report it anymore unless you happen to get one of those corner ads promoting the same thing. Otherwise, you have to specifically search for the video, which of course nobody is going to do. Speaking of which, you know how I said reporting can pose a danger to users? Well, it's these corner ads that are the problem. Like before, you have to click the small icon to bring up the page, but in this case when you do so, you will be forced to go to the advertised site. And fun fact, if the ad doesn't show you the link, there is no way to verify where that is going to take you beforehand. This is a big oversight that, if used correctly, could be exploited to trick people into installing viruses and such onto their devices. Even if it's a case where you always have to have a video ad with these, which happens to show where it's going to take you, the whole thing defeats its entire purpose because the one time you are intended to use the side reporting feature is the one time you absolutely should never use it. How stupid is that? Thankfully, this is the only type of ad with this issue, though I'll note that for some reason the ads that appear when you use the search function cannot be reported at all, so that's fun. Last thing to talk about is the user report history page, and for a site as large as YouTube, its design is a disgrace. To start, the entire first row is basically useless because the only report type it seems to track is videos. Comments, channel, and playlist reports do not get added to it at all, despite being equally important to monitor. 16 years old, and you expect me to believe they've somehow never thought to do this? Really? The second row appears to work fine at first, but in the rare circumstance where your report successfully takes down a video, the page will randomly remove the video's author, and clicking on the remaining link won't show it either. Essentially, if you forget the name, you could be left with no way of checking whether anything will happen to the channel. It gets worse over time though, as once the video is properly cleared, the entire line will be replaced with this message. You might not see this as a problem at first, but it is when you realize the same thing happens when a video is made private or is deleted by the creator, which completely ruins its usability of seeing whether YouTube did their job right, assuming you care, of course. As for the last two lines, far as I can tell, they have nothing wrong with them. They display objective data, and I've yet to find any situations where the wrong info is shown. What's crucial is the information YouTube has neglected to include. Report review status. Did you know that according to an official member of YouTube's trusted flaggers, only 30% of all video flagging by users is accurate? I'm honestly surprised it's not lower, because while they will email you to thank you for a successful report, outside of that there is zero indication for whether a report was ever seen, nor are we given feedback to let us know why our report might be wrong if the content remains up. This creates a problem where a person reports content based on the guidelines, then never gets any response, so they have to assume they're the one who is wrong. Then when something genuinely bad shows up that breaks that same guideline, they'll leave it be because apparently they have no idea what's acceptable on YouTube, thus leading to more people being exposed to it unnecessarily because the site couldn't be bothered upholding their own rules. It's completely idiotic. Why would anyone in their right mind decide to design such an important feature to be so unhelpful? And unfortunately, I might have an answer for that too. The main reason I can think of is the removal of accountability. Because we are never told when a report has been seen, if anyone were to try call them out for inadequate moderation, they can simply claim it got lost in the system. They get thousands of reports daily after all. As they always have an excuse, they're free to neglect their job of properly reviewing content from users. Plus, by only having video reports tracked, they can almost completely ignore any of the other types. This is paired with the fact that simply having the reporting system at all shifts the responsibility of identifying bad content onto us. If a bad video manages to survive for years, that's our fault for not reporting it, by using a system that discourages people from reporting content. Right. It's just more fuel for excuses, none of which we can easily prove wrong, and they can just use the automated system to meet their quota of reports and call it a day. There's also a monetary motive as well, since the longer a video stays up, the more views it gets, and therefore the more ad opportunities there are. I don't think it's as strong a motive as the others, but it's certainly there, especially after YouTube changed it so all videos can have ads, even those not in the partner program. Again, all of this is pure speculation. There is no way for me to prove YouTube intentionally made their reporting system to be as obnoxious and ineffective as possible to discourage people using it, all the while utilizing it as a perfect excuse generator against those who would call them out for their bad practices. But you've got to admit, there's a decent amount of evidence here to suggest it could be true. All I'll say is that if my theory is ever proven true, YouTube's moderation and design teams should be absolutely ashamed of themselves. Though I doubt they're ever going to bother doing anything to improve it, if they were, the changes are rather straightforward. Start by moving the report option out into the open, excluding the main page since there's a legitimate lack of space there, and then fix the dangerous design of the corner ads, which shouldn't be too difficult, just change the link area slightly to remove the overlap. Next would be to add the missing report types, the only one likely to be a challenge being comments, though I think they could probably utilize the highlighted comment feature to incorporate that properly. Last and most important, give people a way of knowing when their report has been seen. Bonus if they actually provide a reason for why a report might be wrong, as either will just decrease incorrect flagging, making the whole thing more useful. Honestly, this whole topic has just been aggravating. They could have chosen to incorporate one or all of these changes and they would have objectively benefited the YouTube community. Instead, they keep making idiotic changes such as the recent removal of the dislike count. There is still a lot of potential for YouTube to be made into a better website, and the people running it just can't see it for some reason. I mean, I'm pretty sure even I could design a better reporting system, and coming from me, that's incredibly sad. Anyway, that'll be all for this video. I hope you found it interesting, and if you did, leave a like and or subscribe. Either will help me spread awareness of these issues, and perhaps in future, we can make a change. Though I highly doubt it. Thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join me for the next one. Have a nice day or night.